Princess Adaku was the daughter of a mighty king, known far and wide for his wealth and kindness. The kingdom flourished under his rule and the people loved him deeply. But despite all the riches, glory and peace in the land, Princess Adaku carried a sorrow, too deep for words. For many years, she had tried to have a child, but her womb remained barren. Her heart ached every time she saw the children of the village, running through the fields, laughing and playing. She felt incomplete. Like the missing piece of her life's puzzle was a baby of her own. Her desperation grew with every passing day. She prayed to the gods, visited the wise woman of the village, and tried all the herbal remedies. Yet nothing worked. One day, a very old woman known to possess ancient wisdom visited the palace. The woman had heard of Adaku's barrenness. She pulled the princess aside and whispered, "There is one last option, princess, a way that few dare to seek. But know this, it comes with a price." "What is it?" "I will do anything," Adaku desperately exclaimed, her eyes wide with hope. "There is a path to the world of the mermaids." The old woman began. "The mermaids are powerful beings. They have the ability to grant your wish. But they do not give without taking something in return." Adaku's heart raced. She had heard stories of the mermaids. Mystical, enchanting creatures that lived deep beneath the river's waters. Some said they were kind, others warned of their trickery, but to her none of that mattered. All she wanted was a child to call her mommy. Ignoring the old woman's warnings, she demanded to know the way to the mermaid world. The old woman gave her instructions. "Go to the sacred river at the edge of the kingdom, at midnight, when the moon is full. Stand by the water and call their names. But remember, princess, the mermaids are not to be trusted." That night Adaku, who set out alone, covered in a dark cloak to avoid being seen. The path was long, winding through thick forests and past wide fields. The full moon lit her way, until she finally reached the sacred river. Its waters sparkled under the moonlight, and the air felt heavy with magic. Standing at the river's edge, she called out to the mermaids in a shaky voice, "O great spirits of the water, I seek your help. Please hear my plea." The river was still for a moment, but then the water began to ripple slowly. From beneath the surface figures emerged. Beautiful women with long flowing hair and shimmering scales instead of legs. They glided gracefully to Adaku, their eyes gleaming like diamonds. "What is it you desire, princess of the land?" one of them asked, in a voice that sounded like the wind, blowing through reeds. "I want a child," she said, her voice trembling. "I have tried everything, but I cannot conceive. Please grant me a child." The mermaids smiled, but there was something eerie about their expressions, something unsettling in their glowing eyes. "We can grant you your wish," the lead mermaid said, "but you must understand, every gift comes with a price. Are you willing to pay for it?" Adaku, who didn't hesitate. "Yes, anything. I will do anything." The mermaids circles her, their voices rising in song, weaving magic into the air. "Very well, princess. In 9 moons you will hold a baby child in your arms. But remember, a gift from the mermaids is never what it seems." Adaku returned to the palace, her heart filled with hope. As promised, after 9 moons, she gave birth to a baby boy. He was beautiful with large dark eyes that sparkled like the stars, and a small tuft of hair as soft as silk. The princess was overjoyed, cradling him in her arms as tears of happiness streamed down her face. But as the days passed, strange things began to happen. The baby did not cry like other babies, nor did he laugh. His eyes seemed to glow in the dark. And sometimes, Adaku could swear, she saw tiny scales on his skin. Still, her love for him was boundless, and she ignored the warnings in her heart. As the baby grew, the villagers began to notice something odd. Children in the village started to fall sick. At first it was 1 or 2, But soon every newborn baby in the village became ill. No matter what the healers did, the babies would waste away, their cries turning into weak whimpers, before they eventually passed on. The villagers grew suspicious. They whispered about curses, about the strange child born to Princess Adaku. Mothers clutched their babies tightly whenever they saw the boy, and fathers spoke in hushed tones about the strange happenings in the village. One night a mother who had lost her child swore she saw Adaku's son sneaking into her home, his eyes glowing in the dark. The next morning, she found her baby lifeless in its crib, with no sign of how it had died. The village was now gripped with fear. The whispers grew louder, and soon people were demanding answers from the king. They wanted to know what was happening, why their children were dying. Adaku, hearing these rumors, refused to believe them. She told herself, her son was innocent. He was her miracle, the child she had begged the mermaids for. But deep down her heart had a growing fear. Then one fateful night, Adaku's worst fears came to life. She awoke to strange sounds coming from her baby's room. Rushing inside, she saw her son, now a toddler, crouched over the crib of a newborn servant's child. His tiny hands were stained with blood, and his eyes glowed with an unnatural light. Horrified, Adaku screamed, pulling him away, but it was too late. The baby in the crib was lifeless. At that moment, the truth struck her like lightning. Her child was not a gift, he was a curse. Her heart shattered into 1,000 pieces as she realized the price she had paid. She had been so blinded by her desire for a child that she hadn't seen the danger the mermaids had warned her about. As the village's cries grew louder and angrier, Adaku knew she had to act. She could not allow her son to harm any more innocent children. With a heavy heart, she took her son back to the sacred river. She stood at the edge, just as she had before, and called out to the mermaids. They emerged from the water, their eyes gleaming as they gazed upon her. "You have come to return the gift," one of them said softly, though there was no surprise in her voice. Adaku nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Please take him back. I cannot let him continue to bring death to the village. I beg of you, take him." The mermaids smiled again, their cold, eerie smiles. "It is not that simple, princess. We gave you what you asked for. You cannot simply return him like unwanted trash. The child belongs to you now. He is of the land and the water. But he's killing the other children. You didn't tell me this would happen." Adaku cried, her voice breaking. "We warned you," the lead mermaid said calmly. "Every gift comes with a price. You chose to pay for yours." Desperate, Adaku fell to her knees, clutching her son to her chest. "Then tell me how to stop him. How can I save my people?" The mermaids exchanged glances, their eyes gleaming in the moonlight. "There is only one way," one of them finally said. "You must lead 770 black cattle to the river and offer them as a sacrifice to the river god. Then you will bath your son in warm milk. Place him in a boat and return him to the river. Only then will we accept him back to the water, for he belongs to the water. He is not meant to walk the earth." The princess's heart ached at the thought. To return him to the water meant she would lose him forever. But she had no choice. She couldn't allow more innocent children to die. The princess returned back to the palace, and confessed this to her father, the king. She told him how she had desperately wanted a child, and the only way was to go to the mermaid world and beg for one. But now, her son had turned out to be a curse. Her father cried so much, asking why she had not come to him and told him about her problems, so he could have helped her. "I could have warned you," the kind cried. The kind offered to sacrifice 770 black cows to the mer world, so that the children of the kingdom would stop dying. That night, Adaku asked her closest girl servant to bring a basin full of warm cow milk, and she bathed her son in it. Then with trembling hands, she carried her son to the water's edge. The boy looked up at her, his eyes glowing softly in the dark. For a moment, her love for him almost stopped her from going through with it. But then she remembered the lifeless babies, the grieving mothers, and the village's cries. "I am sorry," she whispered, her voice choked with sorrow. "I am so sorry." With a final kiss on his forehead, Adaku placed her son into the boat, and rowed it to the center of the river, and swam back ashore. The mermaids watched silently as the river pulled him under, his tiny form disappearing beneath the surface. The king had ordered his 10 most trusted soldiers, under a binding oath, to lead 770 black cows to the river, and never reveal what they saw there, no matter what. When the boy went beneath the water surface, the cows followed one by one, until all the 770 had been swallowed up by the water. Then the water rippled for a moment, and then it was still. The mermaids disappeared as soon as the last of the cows went under. The soldiers were in awe. The princess cried, her eyes out in sorrow. They all went back to the palace and never spoke of what happened to a single soul. The village's children stopped dying. After that night, the sickness that had gripped the land lifted.